Hey guys, it's Mercury here with another Hack the Box video. This time I'll be doing Shocker, and this was a pretty simple, pretty fast machine. I kind of don't want to beat the drum over some of the basic techniques like Nmap and directory enumeration, at least on the simpler machines. When we find the ones that are harder, you have to look further on to get the information. Those I'll go back into Nmap and directory enumeration. So first, since this took a while, I'm having some issues with connection speed with the VPN. Um, I ran the Nmap ahead of time, and as you can see, we have port 80 open, running an older version of Apache HTTP server, and running on port 2222, which is an odd port for it, is an SSH server. For the most part, I ignored this. I don't know if this was an intended vector of attack, because the name and this image should give you a pretty solid clue as to what the intended vector of attack was. A few years ago, there was this bug, Shellshock, which basically allows you to use this magic string to escape from a um, Apache server running and get into Bash, and then from Bash do arbitrary code execution by this sort of escaping you out of it. In this case, the system worked by using a curl request, where you defined the user agent as your escape string and then your arbitrary code. So there is something that this article is a little bit missing and doesn't really get into, which is that you can't just run it against the server itself. You need to target a specific file, and that's where the enumeration comes in. So in this case, this is the output report from Deerbuster telling me that it found these directories within slash, and within there we were able to find a user.sh. And if you're trying to use Shellshock, which you probably will not find in the wild anymore, you want to look for .sh files and .cgi files to actually run the attack against. So that now brings us to the attack, which in this case, let's start up the listener so we can actually do this live. In this case, what we're doing here is we are going to just bring this full screen for ease. We're going to curl. We're going to set a header. That header is going to be user agent, our escape string, and then we're going to have it invoke bin bash. We're going to do a simple bash reverse shell, just basically feeding a bash shell output back to us. And we're going to do it against that user.sh. And down at the bottom, we should get, this wants to work. There we go. I don't know what the issue there was. I did just call a reset on this machine because the first time I started to run through this video, I got to the user and discovered that somebody else had left their junk from their own, where they'd ran some escalation scripts and left some stuff behind that just didn't look nice. Please guys, when you're done, you have a reset, revert the machine. It just makes it easier. Makes it easier and cleaner for the next guy. He's not finding maybe something unintended, a rabbit hole that you went down. So we're going to move to the user directory. And we know that we're Shelly because we have a bash shell. Didn't really need to run who am I. And there's our user flag. If this machine was still live, you would be able to submit that for points. And now we're going to try and get into root and we're going to see what happens. And we are denied from getting into root. So now we have to kind of make that happen. So we're going to do sudo-l, and it tells us that we can run Perl without needing to be root. We can treat it as if we are root with no password. So if we do sudo u root perl exec /bin/bash, I think that's right. I missed something here. So sudo u root perl exec-e. Let's just give that a fast lookup on spawning a TTY shell. Perl-e exec is what we're missing. Exec bin bash. Do need to brush up on my Perl. And now we're root user. So cd root, there's root.txt, and if we were looking for it, there is root.txt. And as you can see, this was a pretty fast machine. This was doing the exploit from scratch. If you were to do the research and type it in, if you follow the right path, this machine shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes your first time, maybe with fumbling around, launching the curl request against the wrong files or the wrong folders. I actually had more trouble on a previous run of this trying to use the Metasploit tool for doing Shellshock and getting it to work rather than just doing it manually. That may just be me. I'm not the biggest fan of Metasploit. I might be a little jaded against it purely because I'm studying for the OSCP, and on that exam you are not able to use Metasploit except for on one machine. So I'm trying to learn to do as much manually as I can. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up with the tide of machines coming in and out. I've gone and done some of the older retired machines. I'm trying to do more of those manually to make more interesting videos. So there may be a slight lull as we wait for machines to get retired and as I kind of figure out what videos are actually interesting to watch. If you have any suggestions on retired machines that you want to see me take on, you can leave them in the description. I'm also going to leave links to a better video on the nature of Shellshock and to the articles where I got the information that I used to do this from. Thanks for watching.